Hey everyone, Rock DIY here. I've got my shop completely built. I've been working with this shop vac, Craftsman shop vac, for a long time. It's a good vacuum. Unfortunately, the building has outgrown the capabilities of the shop vac. And you can see I was only working right there on that table, and you can see sawdust everywhere. And there's no air circulation in here. So I am going to a new shop vacuum. It's a Vevor 1 horsepower. The way that I'm going to do this is, so I've got these tools here. Only these three have a port on them. What I'm going to do is mount the shop vac. I'm here. I'm going to run PVC up, and then what I'll have is a Y, and then that Y will have a port on it that will allow me to connect to any three of the tools that require a port. The PVC pipe will continue across. I will put a 90-degree right there in the corner. It will come across here. It will stop right up here and then come down, and then that will have a cap on it that has a port on the bottom of it that will go to any one of these three. And of course, every one of them's got a different size port on them. I think this one, the inner diameter is 1 1/4. This one is like 3 3/4. And then the planer, I've had to completely repair this thing because of damage that was created by chip buildup on the outlet. So I'm kind of afraid to put a hose back on the back end of it, but it's got a large port as well. So if I need to, I can use it. Originally, I was planning on putting 3 different ports off the PVC pipe cap. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to use all 3 at the same time. So there's no point in having 3 separate hoses going to each of these. Because then I would have to have blast gates. I would either have to make some blast gates or buy some blast gates. Preferably not buy them because they're way expensive. That's my plan with that. Got a little carried away and didn't really film much of anything. But what I have done is I removed the bottom plate, the 6 bolts that hold the plate on, because I was trying to figure out the best place for this to be. And since that space is open, the only thing I have is a trash can right there. But I can mount this where the bag hangs down. I've seen it where people have it laying flat on the floor where the bag goes straight across on the floor. But I'm going to use this so that the bag hangs down. And then the actual vacuum port will be on this side. But in my case, I don't have too many places that I can really mount. I've got the steel uprights. These are 2-inch uprights. There's one there. And then halfway between is a wood stud and then a metal upright again. So what I did is I used 2-inch self-tap screws to go into the metal framing on there, and then I put a screw into the wood stud here, and then over there another self-tap 2-inch screw, and that's to support the upper portion of this, and it's on there pretty good. That's the way I've done it. And then what I did is I put 2 self-tap screws here and here, and these are actually the holes where the wheels would go. So there's 2 there, 2 there. And then what I did is this metal right here is just over a 1/4 inch thick. So I didn't have any more of it. So what I did, just to make sure it sits even or plumb, what I did is I took the same thickness of wood, put it behind it, and then just put 2 screws in it that go into this board on the back. This black material is a material that where my son works, every time they get defective stuff, they get ready to toss it. But in this case, it came in handy for my workshop. And it's basically a resin board. It's pretty strong, so I drove these screws through the wood into that resin board, and you can see it's pretty sturdy. And the reason why the plate is only up here is because trying to hold that and that up there at the same time. Would have been really difficult. And the good thing is the plate is threaded, so all you gotta do is put the 6 bolts back into it and it'll be ready to go. All right, so it is now completely mounted on the wall. I've got the power source right next to it, so the actual cord doesn't need to be very long. And I've got the bag on it. You can see it's about 6 inches off the ground. It does kind of sit against this bench right here, but shouldn't be anything to worry about, because if I'm filling that bag all the way up to there, it'll start to bump it out, but I will definitely be emptying this way before it even gets that full. So now the next thing is to put the flexible pipe on, and then I've got to put my PVC and then my Ys. I got to put one Y there, and then I got to put a 90-degree angle there. Then I got to come over here and then come down so that it's above this table right here, so that I can hook up any one of these 3 here for now. And you can see I haven't quite finished the upper portion of the wall. What I plan on doing is putting the PVC pipe up so that I can easily remove it. I've got a plan. Not 100% sure it'll work, but I'm gonna try it. As I always try to do, I try not to make things permanent. And in this case, I'm kind of glad I didn't, because what I ended up doing right after I put this up, I decided it would be better if it was up, all the way up on the wall. So I'm gonna take the bracket off, move it up, move this up, and then the bag itself will actually be not too difficult to get to, but it'll be up. And the other thing that's gonna help is, so if I left it like this, I would have a flexible hose going from here up the wall and then attach. But if I take this, move it up there, I can keep the flexible pipe and the PVC in line, which is gonna be better as far as suction. So I'm gonna move that up and then start building the piping for it. Got the dust collector up on the wall, got the bag on it, looks pretty decent. Cable locked down on the pegboard. And then what I'm going to do is put a little bit of flex pipe here, and then I'm gonna run PVC. But what I'm gonna do is put a spacer on the back wall to keep the PVC off the wall, since I'm gonna have to put connectors on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these out. So I'll cut this out. These are 4-inch, and cut it here, and then I'll put a screw in that locks it onto the wall, and then I'll come up with a way to go from the side to side. I'll probably just use some strapping material to lock it down over the PVC pipe. I'll put those spacers where I can along here, 90-degree, and then go across here over to about right there, and then down. Good thing about putting this up on the wall high is that I don't lose my trash can area, because when it was down, that took its place, and so then I had to find another place for my trash can. So this works out pretty good. Here's my new plan on how I'm gonna secure the PVC pipe to the wall, because I do need a gap. So this will go against the wall. This piece of PVC will be screwed onto the block of wood, and then there will also be a longer screw that goes in the center that goes all the way through PVC, the block of wood, and into the wall. This piece is 2 inches wide, and the hole in the center, I had to test it several times to see what allowed me to open it enough to put over the 4-inch PVC pipe, and then also keep it strong enough to hold the PVC. And so this is cut 2 inches wide, and this will snap right over the PVC pipe that's sitting right here. This will snap right over it, and it's actually pretty strong. So, and if I put enough of these on there, there shouldn't be any issue. There's not like any added weight's going to be on it or anything, so this should work pretty good. Rather than putting too many screws, because originally I was going to put one here and one here to hold PVC onto the block of wood, and then put one hole in the center with a long screw that goes all the way through the PVC block of wood and into the wall. So what I ended up doing is drilling a hole slightly bigger than the screw. So this loosely fits through here. And once it goes into the metal on the wall, it'll actually lock all this together. If I tried to drill that screw in through the PVC, the wood, and into the metal, most of the time the head will get stripped out. So that's why I'm doing it this way. What I've got done is I got one of my PVC clamps there, got another one here, and that's where I'm going to add a Y in, and then I'll put another clamp right here, and then I don't really have anything to mount to over here, so what I'll have to do is wait until I get down here. I think I'll have enough support, but I'll put another clamp there, and then I'll have to put one right there, and then one down the wall right here. I did end up putting some more of this resin panel up in order to continue, because these two top pieces weren't here. So I just added those so that I didn't have to put the PVC clamps and pipe up and then have to take it down in order to put the panels back up. That's the nice thing about these panels, is that they're all screwed in. The pegboard and the black panels are all screwed in, so if I need to do some work behind the wall, I can unscrew it and do what I need to do. Here's where I'm at. Got this pipe up, got my 90-degree elbow going down, and then I got the Y right here, and then I'll put a elbow here, so it'll basically be pointing straight down. But originally I was going to stop it right there, but I'm going to be building a table over here, and I want to be able to have the ability to put a vacuum hose up above. So what I'm going to do is do an elbow going up, put an extension, and then put another elbow coming back this way, and then what I'll use is some hard wire from up there in here and have it come down directly over this table where it's at now, even though this won't be the table. But I'll keep the PVC pipe high, and the reason why I'm going up is because I do have a 12-foot ceiling in here, and it's kind of nice not to run into everything, so I want to put this at least as high as the garage door railing right here, so it's up and out of the way. I don't want to keep it at the same height because I would probably run into it with things all the time. So here's the little 22.5 connector right there that I'll have there and over there. The other thing that I'm going to be doing, well, my son will be doing, he's going to make two of these. Basically, it's going to be a cap just like this, except it will only be an inch deep. And then what he's going to do is integrate, this isn't it, but just for an example, what he's going to do is he's going to integrate a tube as part of the cap so that I can take the smaller hoses and hook it directly to the tube. And he's doing it with a 3D printer. I think he's working on one of them right now, and it apparently takes 6 hours to print, and so I need two of those. The other thing is, went looking everywhere, I need a sleeve that will go into the 4-inch PVC pipe here, and then with a ring on it so it'll stop when you put it in. And then the other side, well, both sides will be 2 inches, so a total of 4 inches, so that I can put the flex hose, this flex hose, from there to there. There's an adapter that goes here, but the flexible hose is almost the same exact diameter as the pipe, so I don't have anything to connect the flexible tube to. So I went looking around, and apparently inner couplers are only available online. Nobody's got them. I went to 3 different box stores, nobody's got them. I looked online, but can't always trust online, and nobody's got it. So my son will also make one of those on his 3D printer. All right, a little more progress. What I did was add the 90-degree elbow there. Got a straight piece and then another 90 degrees so I can bring it over and over the work table that's still to be built. Here we are, getting further and further ahead. Just to recap, got the dust collector. Just need to get the hose from there to there. Of course, it's going to have a little kink in it, which should be okay. Then you got a Y right here with this 22.5 degree PVC pipe so that it comes straight down. Runs all along here with the homemade PVC clamps holding it up. Comes over here, and then the same thing again. And any piece that's facing downward, I did put glue on because I just don't want them falling out. So that one are glued, and then that one over there is glued. But you can see where the Y comes, 22.5 there. 90 degree elbow, 90 degree elbow. Got another clamp, this time facing up and down to support that elbow. And then got some hard wire up here to hold the pipe there. And then hard wire here. And I also used a level to make sure that it was level. And then another 90 degree elbow and a downspout basically. And then gonna happen, I mentioned it previously, is on this cap it'll be a little bit different because this cap, a cap similar to this will just go directly on it. But on the other ones, this 3-inch sleeve will go on first, and then the cap will go on. So go on like that. But instead of it just being a rounded cap like this, it will have a nozzle sticking out, and I want to say it's 2 1/4. And then what I'll have to do is find, well, I know one of the big box stores has 20 feet of 2 1/4 for like $35. Stuff's pretty expensive. But so what'll happen is the 2.5 inch connector will go to here, and then every one of these tools for some reason has a completely different size dust port. So the other thing I'm going to do is have some assemblies that are set up so the 2 1/4 hose can connect to an adapter, and the adapters will be made for each one of these systems. And so there's 3 that require it here, and then there's only 2 over there that require it. But at some point the table saw and the miter saw will be integrated into a work table. So that's why this is going to be here, so that it goes down to the work table. That is where I'm at right now. As mentioned previously, I had a 3D printer print out some connectors. So here is one right here, and this one took about 4 hours to print, I think, and then this one took 6.5 hours. So just for example, this piece right here will be used to connect this hose, and it does fit in there. I already checked it. It's tight, which is a good thing to get a good seal. And then this will allow me to connect to the dust collector. The issue with having PVC is that they're both the same exact size, so one would not fit over or in the other. And so on the actual PVC, you can see that goes right in there. And then as far as the cap that I mentioned with the connector for a hose, this right here will go into the end of the cap, or in this case, like that PVC pipe hanging down up there. This would basically hang down like this. Try to show it. So this would go on here, and then the hose would be connected here to go to whatever tool is being used or just used to clean the table. This will go on here like this, and then the flexible hose would go right here. So I'll have to cut a short piece to connect it. I've got a short piece of flexible hose here with the 2 clamps, 2 of 4 clamps that were provided with the dust collector, and got it on there with the 3D printed internal coupler. And then this piece that was provided, the black piece right here, it fits very poorly on this, on the actual dust collector. It's the blue part of it is kind of warped. You can feel it, but it's on there. But one of the things I think I'll do, because it's kind of kinked really hard, so I'm thinking I'm just going to cut the pipe down some so that the hose is a little more direct and not so kinked off to the side. So I've had to purchase vacuum hose in the past, and every time I went, I would always find that it's very expensive to buy vacuum hose. Very short lengths for outrageous cost. But what I did find recently is if you go out and buy a hose, and in this case, this is actually a vacuum hose for pools. I was able to get 36 feet for $49. If I had bought this same thing specifically for a vacuum, a regular vacuum, it probably would have been triple that in price. But there is no difference, and in fact, this will probably last longer than regular vacuum hose. So this is what I'm going to be using off of these, and off of these to connect to each of the tools. All right, here we are. We got the cap with the nozzle on it, and then we got the hose with a new 3D printed nozzle, which is very similar to this nozzle. So this fits on here, and then you have the hose that goes to the variable speed saw and attaches right on. So you can turn that on, pull sawdust straight from there, and then just make sure the other ones are closed up. Even though it'll still pull, even if the other ports are not closed off. It's been about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks since the last time I covered this, so I can't recall exactly where I ended. But I do have everything set up. Got the dust collector on the wall. Got the PVC set up. Got my hoses hooked up. These PVC clamp things that I cut and use seem to be holding up pretty well. I may reinforce them just in case, because maybe the heat will get to them and they'll start to droop, because this PVC is definitely heavy. So yeah, it's all in there. Got my 90 degree there. Comes over here. I have one hose hooked up here, then it goes up and across, and then goes over to my work table with my table saw and miter saw. These pieces are over here drying, and I mentioned previously that what I was doing is using a 3D printer to build these attachments. This one right here, that will connect to that PVC pipe right there. And then on the opposite end, on this one, is that white piece. So here can connect to either the miter saw or table saw. And since I'm more than likely not going to ever be using both, or can't use both at the same time, this hose, once it's up here, I can take that end, connect it to this attachment that stays on here, and then for the table saw, I've got an elbowed attachment in there, and so I can take that end and connect it to there as well. What I did was, every one of the tools has an attachment that makes the connector on the end the same size. So no matter where that connects, it will always be the same size on every tool. So this could go on there. That white piece can go onto there. This piece right here is going to go over there, and that will be for the planer, and then potentially whatever other tool gets put over here. This Ryobi miter saw is going away, so that won't be here anymore. And then as far as over here, you can see this one's already set up and ready to go. This one can attach here and also to this Ryobi belt sander. So all you gotta do is just take it off here and connect it to the back of the belt sander. That doesn't have a port, and that doesn't have a port, so not really relevant. And that's where I'm at. I think it's all gonna work out great once it's all done. Oh, the only other thing, well, so one thing I did not mention is that I did buy an anemometer to measure the vacuum speed, and can't recall the numbers right off the top of my head, but without this connector on and putting it on here, I got it 43 miles per hour. So 43 miles per hour. If I put it over there, 43 miles per hour. If I put it over there, 43 miles per hour. I thought it would change, especially since that one was open and that one was open. I thought that this would be lower. I thought if that one was open, this one would be lower, but they pretty much stayed the same. Now, where the issue is because I'm going down from a 4-inch opening to an 1.5 inches, it is drastically reduced. I think the highest I had was 23 miles per hour. I can leave these connected to whatever tool. Like I could leave that one there. I could leave that connected and only use one of these hoses over here, and the speed will be the same. Originally what I had planned was, if one of the hoses wasn't in use, in order to increase vacuum, is I would take this off the tool that's not being used, and I would have these caps put on. So rather than capping it up there, just cap the end of the hose here, and I thought it would give me more vacuum. But it really doesn't make much difference whether it's still hooked up to a tool or not. But I'm not a vacuum expert. That's what I gathered from using the anemometer and measuring the wind speed or the vacuum speed. Oh, there it is, my final 3D printed adapter. And this is for a Ryobi belt sander. So now I can just hook up this hose, same exact hose size for every tool, and I'm ready to go. I'm gonna do a little test here using this hose right here that goes to this planer, but I'm gonna use it to pick that up down there and see how well it does.